I thought it was important to bring some historical context to the young Earth, old Earth debate, because in the 1600s, there was another debate. And that debate was the fact that, starting with Copernicus and then Galileo, that the Earth moved. The Earth is in an orbit around the sun, that the sun doesn't orbit around the Earth, as had been thought by Aristotle, that in fact it's the Earth that moves around. And the conundrum in the primary verse, there's others, but the primary is this Psalm 104:5, which says, speaking of God, you who laid the foundations of the earth so that it should not be moved forever. And so the questions then for the theologian, but let me back up a second before we get to that. Later, you have Johann Kepler, who is tracking these orbits, and he was the one that came up with the elliptical orbit as opposed to a circular orbit. He was a believer. You've got Sir Isaac Newton, who's making his calculations. So they were not thrown off, and they were believers. And in the Principia by Principia Mathematica that Newton wrote, he's talking about all the math and the science, but in the middle of it, he's glorifying the Creator. So he was not thrown off. So then the questions then for the theologians are, when is a literal interpretation of a verse like Psalm 104:5 to be taken as a literal fact versus a metaphor? Or maybe more to the point, how do we parse words such as move? And so I think that when a modern person, I'm sure we all understand that the Earth does orbit the sun. I don't think that's a disputed science. And it spins. And it rotates. And so we don't have a dispute there. But what is move in that context? Well, in my mind, move means it's not being moved off of its orbit.
Yeah. And it's a way of putting that is you could particularly, a certain person and maybe their political views, they're immovable in those. That's just a way of saying it. It's just a vernacular that you could use. Same with, Jesus said, I am the door. Now, if you took that literally, then, there's Jesus, right, standing over there as a door. It's a figurative way of speech. And same with, if you had enough faith, you could move mountains. That's a vernacular of the time, saying that, there's astounding things that you can do if you have enough faith. So there's reasons when things are spoken, and this was a verse like what you said. It was I think it was Catholic Church that took it that way, that the earth was stationary. And I think if all you had to do is just look up in the morning, see the sun cross over the sky, something's moving. So that was an interesting topic that's good to start with that, because that's important to remember, that we have to try to gauge what the book's actually saying, because we believe the Bible, but it does have figurative language in it, and a lot of it is in the Psalms. They're figurative,
right?
So